According to the World Bank, 1 out of 5 Africans go to bed hungry every night. Out of the top 5 countries around the globe with the highest unemployment, 3 of these countries are in Africa: South Africa, Nigeria, Djibouti. The United Nations points out that 37.9 Africans live on $1.90 a day. So for perspective, that is about 400 million Africans live on 22 Ghana cedis every day. I'm sure none of us in this room will be part of these statistics. The African economy has slowed down since 2021, and it's predicted to worsen in 2023. I can cite so many of such grave statistics about Africa, and none of us will be surprised. Are these statistics even true? Majority of us will not even bother to check it because, after all, these are statistics about Africa, and so they are probably going to be true. Since the 2000s, when The Economist magazine described Africa as a hopeless continent, a lot has changed. A lot has indeed changed since that time. But Africa still remains a weak player on the global stage. Africa remains a weak player on the global stage, and things are not so good as we all expected them to be by this time in our history. Will we forever complain about the state of Africa and continue to describe the continent in this way? Because none of the things I've said so far is new. The freedom fighters of the 20th century, the economic advocates, the think tanks, and all the Pan-Africanist hopefuls that are so eager to see a change in Africa reference these statistics when they try to rally the next generation of change makers. But what has come of it? The black man is capable of managing his own affairs. These were the bold proclamations of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in 1957 when he was looking to drive out the colonial masters. But again, what has come of it? Have we exhibited that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs? Many of us in this room will say no. In fact, I will also say no. And when we say no, we would proceed to complain about the leadership of the country and how even our governments have let us down. But again, will we continue to complain about the present? Yes, it is hard. Yes, Africa is underdeveloped. Yes, so many of the countries on the continent are underdeveloped and privileged. Yes, our leaders are corrupt and do not stick to their promises they make us before they come into power. Yes, our systems are stifling. But as my friend in Ogwatin likes to say, there will never be a perfect external environment for us to make the change that we think we should make. So, are we going to give up? Based on how bad things are on the continent, should we just give up? Should all of us emigrate to Europe? Should we aim to move out of Africa and live in the developed parts of the world? Is the state of affairs in Africa so bad that we have to give up on the continent and throw our hands up in the air and say, all right, all is lost. Let's try and seek greener pastures elsewhere. But this is where I say no, because this, to me, is where Sankofa comes in. Let us look back into our history and we'll not give up. Let us look back into our history and we'll find several examples that would inspire us to see our situation now differently. It is difficult to have hope when you see how deplorable, some parts of Africa is now. But I believe if we look back in time and we understand our true history as Africans, we'll find the inspiration to see things differently. Sankofa means go back and get it. Go back and get what? One may ask. Go back and get that which was precious and valuable but you've forgotten about and left in the past. Let us go back and rediscover our true identities as Africans, our true heritage and our heritage of greatness. Let us go back and learn what our true history is. For most of us, the only history about Africa that we know about is the history that we've learned in the classroom. And mostly, this history is from the perspective of our colonizers. But I will urge you to push beyond that. Push beyond that, dive deeper, and go back and get it. Go back and learn about the rich history and the heritage of pre-colonial Africa. That is where your identity is. Go back and learn about Mansa Musa of the ancient Mali Empire. Go back and learn about King Osei Tutu of the Ashanti Empire. Go back and learn about the Yorubas, the Hauses, the Zulu Kingdom, the Kitara Empire, and the Kingdom of Kush. Go back in time and learn about how great men and women have risen out of Africa, this same Africa that we live on. Great men and women have risen up from this continent and faced seemingly insurmountable struggles and gone on to make a difference that has changed the trajectory of the continent. Go back and learn about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, Nelson Mandela, Ya Asantewaa, and look at how these men and women faced their own fair share of challenges but were able to rise above that. Go back and learn about how Mansa Musa was able to build one of the wealthiest cities in the ancient world at a time where Africa was viewed as a continent of savages. Go back and learn about how Osei Tutu rose to unite the Ashantis and showed exceptional leadership to repel the invasion from the then British Empire. Go back and learn about how Jomo Kenyatta, after Kenya gaining independence, he was able to bring the country to a point where its economy was seen as one of the best at the time. Let us go back and learn about these, and we shall find the inspiration we need to make the change that Africa is so much in need of. You see, our forefathers fought a lot of battles, and in the eras that they lived in, there were so many challenges that they faced, and they could have given up and said, all right, things are so bad, things are so deplorable, and so we are not going to try. Kwame Nkrumah studied abroad and moved back to Ghana to lead Ghana's fight for independence. Where would Ghana be if Kwame Nkrumah had not moved back to Ghana? As the other speakers spoke, they referenced certain things that inspired aspects of my own speech. So would we say that things are so bad that we are giving up? Did our forefathers fight slavery? Did our forefathers fight to gain independence, only for us to throw our hands up and say, today and say things are so bad that we want to leave the continent? I think the circumstances are not as pleasant. Our situation on the continent could be better, but we shouldn't give up. We should look back in time, look at what other great men and women have done, look at our heritage of greatness, and we will find the strength to effect the change that we need now. With my own story, when I was moving back to Ghana, I had friends that were also moving back the other way. And they would ask me, Prince, are you really sure about what you're doing? Right? Are you really sure this is the best thing to do now? You're living in the UK, you're lecturing there. Why would you just get up and say you're coming back to Ghana? Because Ghana, things are so bad in Ghana. You know, people keep saying Africa is the future, but bro, just forget about it. We are not the ones that have to bring about this change. Maybe our children's children will come and live in the Africa that we want, but now is not the time, so just forget about it. One of my friends even told me that by moving to Ghana, my life expectancy has reduced. This caused me to reflect on my decision to relocate to Ghana, and the question I was always asking myself is this: am I someone taking risk for a vision I believe in and I'm so passionate about, or I'm making the biggest mistake of my life? I want to believe the former, that I have a vision of Africa and I'm passionate about it, so I took a risk for it. I want to believe that there is a change that is going to happen on the continent and I have a role to play in that. Every generation has its challenges, and it is the same with our generations also. Our forefathers had to fight slavery. The freedom fighters of the mid-20th century had to fight against colonialism and neocolonialism. For our generation, I think our challenge is twofold. One is to prove that the black man is indeed capable of managing his own affairs. And two is to realize the Agenda 2063 as set by the African Union. To be able to achieve these is not going to be easy, but this is where I say we look back and get motivation. We look back to our history of greatness as Africans. We look back and discover that there have been men and women who have also lived on the same continent that we've lived on, faced challenges, and have been able to rise above these challenges to make a difference. 40 years from today, when the historians and economists of the time sit down to examine progress that has been made on the African Union's goals for 2063, what will they say about us? The AU 2063 goals was formulated in 2013. It was a 50-year plan that is aiming at an African that is integrated, is peaceful, and its progress is being driven by its own citizens. 10 years have passed since those goals were set. 40 years more. What would the future say about us? What would our children say about our generation? What would the historians and economists then say about us? Are they going to say about us the same things that we've said about our leaders? Are they going to complain about us bitterly the same way we keep complaining about our leaders and saying that they are not doing the best for us? Where are the Paul Kagames of our generation? Where are the Peter Obis of our generation? Where are the Patrick Ewes of our generation? I believe that every generation, regardless of the challenges that they face, they are men and women that can rise above the current circumstances and make a change. And so this generation have such people also, and we should look back in time for these lessons. We should look back in time for these examples. We should look back in time for our true heritage and signs that would give us the impetus to march forth and become the transformational change agents that Africa is so much in need of. My hope is that 40 years from today, when we sit to examine the AU goals for 2063, this TED Talk would be referenced as one of the rallying cries that aimed to excite our people and the young people to embrace being transformational change agents for Africa. Thank you.